Hi, I'm Chef Danielle, and this is Talking with Your Mouth Full. Welcome to an episode of Talking with Your Mouth Full, where I cook, I chop it up with interesting guests, and today I have
Tamela Gordon.
Tamela Gordon. This is Tamela Gordon. She's man, listen, y'all gonna find out who Tamela Gordon is at the end of this episode. But let me tell you something. Tamela and I have met, I want to say, about
at
eight
least
years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I have a guest on here, I've known them for quite some time. So, I don't know like the exact day, year, whatever, but what I do remember was you were a server in a restaurant.
Mm-hmm. Dallas BBQ.
Yes, and I was there.
Days.
Yes. And I was there, and you were so like, oh, we were laughing, and we were so,
Yeah.
and you were like, yeah, and I was just like, yeah, girl, this is it. And we connected,
Mm-hmm.
and we've been connected ever since
Absolutely.
then. So, to me, it's a lesson of being open to new relationships, because you don't know where you're going to meet your next friend. You don't know who you're going to meet your next mentor or your mentee or your confidant or you don't know who the next person you're going to meet and where you're going to meet them. So be open and receptive to new relationships, because you don't never know who you might end up with.
Okay, that's right.
But
that's
I ended
right.
up with Tamela, and I made a good decision. I came up good, y'all.
I'm the one who gets to
come
eat.
up. I'm gonna come up. Yeah.
I'm the one who gets to eat.
But I love Tamela because she's very, very articulate, and she's very, very vocal for all black women. Whether you don't speak for yourself, she's speaking for you. If you do not have a voice, she is your voice. And I watch her daily advocate for black women. She's like a protector. She's not gonna let nothing go by and get by her. She sees a comment or post on social media, and she's right there with her cape. She swoops in, and she's like, worst thing to have to keep explaining and breaking down, and it's just
Right. Because we're looked at like we have no credibility. So everything is like a matter of proving, and it sucks, because right now as women, I'm just a firm believer that when you center black women, everybody wins. Because we experience these things way worse than any other group of women. So no matter what angle you're discussing, I speak to so many white women about reproductive rights. But then when I ask them, okay, that's great, I'm so glad that you care about that. So how do you factor in the maternal mortality crisis? And it's like, well, what? I don't know what that is. Well, that's black women dying between 3 and 8 times the amount of white women or Latinx women when they give birth. So how do you not know about that? So then you're only advocating for that aspect that white women deal with. So it's really frustrating that on the outset, it's like, we're all on the same team. We've got to be in this together. But we are the ones who lose every time we, congregate with all the other women. It's like we've got to leave all of our problems back there and kind of fight for what they're advocating for. It does make me a lot more vocal on social media, because really it's like, you guys don't care anyway. So why are we even defending and explaining and doing the bullet points? I get to a point where I don't even do that anymore. Now I just block a bitch. It's just easier. You're not, if I've got to explain all of these things, and we're not going to get to a point when it's still going to be a matter of me breaking it down. It's not necessary.
yeah.
We have too much going on right now. even right now there is on social media I was reading about women who wanted to create their pages. It's called a blackout, and they want a black avatar. And I'm 99.99% positive that a white woman came up with this, to have a blackout avatar to show men what social media looks like without women, and we're not supposed to participate. Well, why would anyone want that on a weekend when black women have been trying to congregate for our own rights? But this is what happens. Then we're expected to not speak at all and somehow silently figure out how we're going to do these marches that they're not going to anyway. So it's really, when it comes to being a black woman, I say it's like 4 sea-girls against the whole other rest of the world. That's what it feels like. It's exhausting, girl.
That's what made me create it. You know, I created that T-shirt, "Black Women versus Everybody." In
I have that one.
So it's like that sparked me to create that shirt, because it's like us versus everybody. It's like we, you know, I'm tired of, we have to get so involved in everybody else's causes when ours is being left by the wayside. Why?
Absolutely, right.
Right, we fighting for you in your plight. Meanwhile, in our communities, we're being pushed out, we're being priced out. You know, the schools in our neighborhoods are subpar. You know, the funding for our neighborhoods are little or non-existent. And you know, the quality of life in our neighborhoods, and then you want us to fight and help you. Right. But how does that help us?
Right.
Because soon
we're
as
helping our oppressor.
Yeah. So, because soon as like they had the Black Women's March, like.
Right, and they were nowhere to be seen. I mean, there was a couple of Susans and Sharons in them, but none worth like, wow, look at how they showed up. No, absolutely not.
It wasn't that many numbers. So tell me what your experience with the Black Women's March was on Washington yesterday when you went.
It was absolutely beautiful. It was well orchestrated.
Yeah.
And of course, I knew that the numbers were going to be low. It had a lot to do with the fact that, again, with the online silencing, I know that I had shared it several times, and it would either be removed from my page without, notification or anything, or it wouldn't get any likes, and no one would see it. I literally had to write an article about the March for Black Women, and then tag probably roughly about 20 to 25 white women, and ask them to amplify the article so that other people can find out.
Okay.
And then, of course, there was the issue of, for a lot of black women, like, well, I want to go, but I can't afford to get to D.C. I can't afford to take off for the weekend. So then I was happy to see that I wasn't the only person who was, helping women get the money that they needed to get there. Pardon me. However, my highlights definitely, just seeing us together and being affirmed that it's not in our minds. We're not going crazy. We really are incredibly mistreated and have been have been blatantly abandoned in this country. You live that and you see it on a day-to-day basis, but it's kind of within your own lens. So to be with other black women and have these discussions, and some really great guest speakers, so it was beautiful. I would like to think that next year it will be bigger. We will promote it more people will show up. But it was a beautiful experience.
Yeah, with the recent death of my brother, I was just really not wasn't proactive on social media like I would normally was.
Right.
Because by the time I saw that the march was happening, because I know last year was the same. It was the same day. Right? It was the same day last year, And last year I didn't have the money to go. And I did not only did I have the money, or then something else came up. So I was like, wow, I would have really liked to have gone, but
Right.
it just wasn't that. And this year, the recent passing of my brother, it was just so, it was so different that I wasn't even really, my mind wasn't really on that. But I'm still, my advocacy for black women is still there. You know
Of
what
course,
I'm saying?
of course.
I believe that, we just, for us to, we, just thinking about it, it's just so exhausting. It's just like, I don't really know what to say. Where do we start? Because I like, when you and I have talked and had a discussion, I think we need to start with ourselves.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Everything starts with self. And we have to start with ourselves, and we have to start in, like, I guess, in small groups, and reach out to our own family members, the women in our family, and our close friends, and start there, because we have to start creating a movement towards a better us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And also work on our dialogue, because the support and the sisterhood is there. But I find that sometimes it's just a lack of organization, because so many of us are business women. We are politically minded. We are social advocates. We are community organizers. However, we might not be communicating and engaging the way that, because we have to lean on each other, because there's no one else. There is no neighbor that we have to knock a door on. You're either going to assimilate and blend and get in where you can fit in, and that's a crapshoot, and that's also a lonely path to walk, or you're going to be unapologetically black. And if you're going to be unapologetically black, I don't know if you can sustain without sisters.
You can't.
I don't think it's possible.
You can't.
Yeah.
It's like being in business. You won't survive without a support system.
Exactly. So it's good to see us having more of these seminars and meetings and just healing spaces where we're providing these platforms so that we can talk, so that we can air these grievances and just slump your shoulders and exhale without having to explain every syllable, because that is like for the birds.
If you had money, if you didn't have to worry about money, what would you be doing?
Oh my God, I would be writing a novel by the shore.
About it.
About something black. Honestly, but again, it's funny being a black woman is, even if I had the money, there would still be that level of obligation that I would feel about black women in general, that I'd be like, okay, well, what am I doing with what I've got? You know what I mean? How am I still being a part of the community in a positive way? I feel like if I had a lot of money, I would probably be doing it bigger. Yeah, be doing the things that I'm doing bigger in regards of advocating, because I'd have more to do it, It's like, really, at this point, all I've got is a Facebook page.
Right.
And even that has limitations, because I only have to make one person angry one time for my page to be banned, and have, a 1-day silencing or a 30-day silencing. And, the way that the way that my community organizing is, Facebook is a major platform for that. I raised hundreds of dollars for black women to go to the March for Black Women, by using Facebook.
Right.
So thinking about, if I don't have that portal, that means that's a huge chunk out of what I do. You know what I mean? So, but without the funds, that's the vehicle that I've got. That's my blowhorn.
But why do other people? This is what I have an issue with.
Mm-hmm.
Other people get to post crazy, all kinds of stuff,
Yeah.
and then when you make a comment or you post something that Facebook community feels is, you know, it goes against what the, you know, that what their community stands for and the guidelines and stuff.
Right.
Then they want to ban you because I got banned for like 3 days or something like that. You know, because of a comment that I made, and do I regret making that comment? Absolutely not. You know, absolutely not. And I mean, because I said what I said.
That's right.
You know, it was one of those moments.
Yes,
you know, like,
yes.
and I really meant what I said. You know, and it was in regard to the nail salon incident, and I said, well, they need to burn that bitch down. That's what I said. Right? You know, and somebody reported it, and you know, the guy, you know, whatever. But I meant that.
Yeah.
You know, because of the treatment. You know, we as black women, we're like the most unprotected and disrespected species on this planet.
Malcolm wasn't lying.
And the sad part about it is that, you know, even our black men, as much as they want to, they don't protect us.
Right.
They don't protect us, and I don't totally put the blame on all. I put, you know, like 15% on, you know. Okay, I get it, but that other 85% is like, bruh. Come on.
And it's funny you say that because I felt as though with the nail salon incident, that would have been such an awesome time for, and there were several black men who, especially that are affiliated with Tamika Mallory. I saw she you know, she's got a really diligent group of black people who advocate in these streets, you know, on the regular.
Right.
And it's funny, just as a sidetrack, Tamika Mallory, who was affiliated with, and still is, with the Women's March. As a black woman, she was also affiliated with Nation of Islam. For white women, when they had seen, I believe it was a photo of her at an event where Louis Farrakhan was, and they completely canceled her. And this goes back to how even our acceptance is with such limitations that we can never fully be ourselves. And she said something really poignant about, my people are at uncomfortable places and I have to be where they are. And, you know, the way that our intersection of gender and race is set up, we don't have the privilege to be indignant against those who advocate for us. And to the world, when they hear Nation of Islam, they think Louis Farrakhan, they think, you know, this Jewish hating man foaming at the mouth. And I'll give them that. I don't disagree with that. But what they don't see are the men from the Nation of Islam who rehabilitate black men in jail, who take care of us in these streets, who feed people, who really go above and beyond in regard of defending their community. So, you know, we have this issue where when there is a nail salon, and then if the men that do show up to advocate for us are the Nation of Islam, and then we're told, hey, you can't support those guys. Okay, well, you know what? It's crazy because the only men who we do have that stand up and advocate for us, then that's an issue. There's just so many complexities that go into being a black woman, and that nail salon issue definitely showed, well, where are all the guys that protest? Because I know that they are here. I know that when there is a shooting, they show up. What was it in their minds, black men, that didn't allow them to associate or connect or empathize with that situation? Because God knows if that happened in a barbershop, our level of anger would have been equal. We would have been in front of the barbershop.
Right.
We would have, you know, and had no problem. It sucks. And to be honest with you, there were even some women, black women, who felt as though, well, you know what? It could have been a bup situation. And it's like, okay, why do we make excuses for when we get beat up? Why do we make excuses for when we get, mistreated? And so much of that is because of how we're looked at as women. It's always our fault. There's always something we said or did or our attitude. You know what I mean?
Something that, and the sad part is we always have to keep explaining ourselves to people
all the time.
And the thing about it is, like you said, there are men that would stand up for us, but I don't know where they were during this incident.
Right.
And there were women who said, like you said, oh, if
she
they
should have paid,
and she should have paid and stuff like it. Why should you pay for something that you felt you got a service done and it wasn't to the standard that you're accustomed to? Why would you pay for it?
Yeah.
And it's only $5 now. They paid for all the other services, which were way more expensive. But $5 deserved her to get beat. Right.
And we really are, I feel like, are desensitized, a lot of us, to being mistreated. We're desensitized to, pardon me, when you go into the Dominican salon and she starts poking at the kitchen and is like, oh, mommy, I'm a client, first and foremost. I'm your client, and I'm paying for a service. But we've gotten so used to being shamed for our hair that we will still let Suhey take out that blow dryer and blow it out and give her that service, knowing that when we're under the dryer, she's talking about us. And it's the same thing with the nail salons. It's the same thing. The crux of that is about, why do we accept our mistreatment? So when you think about that incident, I think for women like us, we felt like that was the moment of taking the garbage can and throwing it through the pizzeria and yelling Radio Raheem. That was, for that sister, that was that moment of, you know what? I'll tell you what I'm going to do and I'll tell you what I'm not going to do, because I'm a human being. And that's the thing, and we have these moments, and then you realize that not everyone sees it that way, and that, the violation of the black body becomes second to, if you're going to get a service, then you pay for it, and if you're unhappy, then you yelp about it. That's the white way. And that's also the way that we've been doing it. I can't tell you how many times I pay for it. Just last night, I paid for a direct express ticket to go from D.C. to New York after the march, and the bus was late. I was transferred to Philly. I was told when I get to Philly that I'm going to be priority going on the bus. I spoke to one woman, Delilah, and was told that's not how it works, and I don't know who told you. And just from jump, the way she was speaking at me was like, I didn't get to do anything other than show you my ticket, but you have this entitlement to speak to me that way. And we both know that when I challenge you, you're going to pull one of those cards. You're going to, either I got an attitude, I was sassy. I essentially had to speak with 3 co-workers as well as the supervisor, and had the supervisor remind me 4 times, I'm the supervisor, before I got a seat on the bus that I had paid for 6.5 hours prior to that for a ride that should have been 4 hours. And going through that, it is this painful reminder that I am intentionally policing my righteous rage right now, because it'll be used against me. So I can be talked to that way, I can be mistreated that way, my dollar can be unworthy, and I only have 2 options. I can either deal with it and really regret it, or I can speak up for myself, and that's when you open up the door for all of the black tropes. I'm ghetto, I was uneducated, I was looking for something free.
Yeah. I'm going to call the police and,
Never mind making it home to New York.
Right.
It's very, very, very limiting. There's a writer, her name is Melissa Harris, and she said that being a black woman is like trying to walk straight in a crooked room. and you have two options, you can just accept that the way that we are viewed is wrong and try to assimilate within that context and try to blend and be cool and get along with Sharon.
Code switch.
Okay, code switch into a whole other person. Fingers crossed, that you'll get that promotion. It still won't get it for you. Or you can walk straight in the crooked room. And you can say, this room is crooked, and I walk straight. And that means that we bear the brunt of all of the black tropes. You are uneducated, you are ghetto, you are loud, you're a loose cannon. The things that people say to me when I had someone tell me that I was a loose cannon a couple of weeks ago, and I said, I think that is outrageous. I think that's outrageous that I said 4 sentences to you, no cap locks, no swear words, and it was a really refined thought that I had, and that was their response. And the reason why that was their response, and she didn't know it, and she was a non-black woman of color, she didn't realize that the reason why that was her response was because she realized she couldn't oppress me. She realized that there was none of those tricks that she can get over me. And so it was, oh, you're a loose cannon. I'm not a loose cannon. I'm free. I'm free. I'm honest. I will not, I'm walking straight in the crooked room. Whew, girl, yeah.
And you're passionate about what you believe in.
Right.
And people misconstrue that as you're being
divisive,
angry, and all those other adjectives.
It's not what you said, it's how you said it.
And they start dissecting what you say little by little. So then when you try to stay on the topic at hand, then it comes with a diversion.
Exactly.
And it's like, how did we get over here when we was here?
Right. The derailing and centering is like, whoa. And I feel like for a long time, we've discussed this in regard to white women, because that's always been our main interaction. And it's been now, and it's bittersweet, but I'm grateful that we're being honest about, what? It's not just Susan and Sharon. It's not just, it literally is everyone who's not a black woman has this feeling of entitlement of weaponizing these black tropes. Anyone can do it. Anyone can do it. And so it's relieving that black women are like, you know what? I'm not a woman of color. We're kind of going closer and closer to our core and removing ourselves from all that does try to silence us. And it's odd because it does give the impression, because we have so many black-centered spaces right now, and I know I'm a part of that, and even trying to do more in regard to that, but it's not without reason. It's because it's a matter of figuring out, well, what room can I walk in where I can just where I can just say my opinion on what I saw on that show without someone trying to say that I shouldn't feel that way, or I should look at it like this. So yeah, but there are a lot more people being vocal about that, and I appreciate that, because it's exhausting. It's really exhausting having so many women feeling like they can trump you.
Yeah, and I just want us to. I want to just be like in an open field with no shoes on, and just walking around and communing with each other, and without all this extra stuff that people are bringing, to the picnic. It's like, why why you putting raisins in the potato salad? Like, come on, man, bring that here. You know what I'm saying? I'm not. It's exhausting.
It is
exhausting, and I've had even on like social media, I had an interaction with someone, and they said, and she was black, and she said to me, "You Americans," and that was when I deleted her, because now you done took it to a whole other level that I already talk about this anyway, but since you want to go here, then we here, and it's like, when you try to have that dialogue, nobody can really give you an answer as to why is there such a big disparity amongst black Americans and black Caribbean women. What did our ancestors do to your ancestors that when you come here, you don't like us?
And it's funny because it's a flip. you know, and in regard of when, as, especially black women in this country, we defend first and we ask questions later.
Right.
So a lot of times, I know even myself, you know, semi recently was in the crux of, was in a situation of defending a non-American black woman, and passionately, and to be honest, I feel like I would do it again.
Mm-hmm.
And this non-American black woman really didn't have anything nice or connected with black American women. And while I understand a culture difference, I don't understand the dislike or this notion that we are, I feel like I wish they would just say, I was told by so many people that in order to come here, I cannot be like black American women because the black American women are this way, this is what I was told. You know, they never want to say that. And it's one of the reasons why when you have those conversations, they'll give you the black tropes, right? They'll be like just angry, just like bop. And you're like, well, why? Like, can you give me an example of what you did? And then that's when it's kind of, you know, that muttering and that.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to get to that
It gets
center.
watered down.
Yes, it gets watered down.
And you don't even realize
it gets watered down.
And you don't even know what the original question was.
Exactly.
By the time you be like, what?
Exactly.
What are we talking
oh
about?
my goodness. I had a non-American Latinx black woman describe another as attacking. And I said, well, I can't see it. But if you can give me this scenario so that I can understand it, and it was instantly, well, you know what? I'm probably using the wrong word. Well, you know what? You probably need to stop doing that shit. Because you probably said that, pardon my French, you probably said that to a dozen other women about this black woman, that she attacked you. Who knows how many people you've said that to. And you don't even realize that you are programmed to think that this, before she even opened up her mouth, whether it was her energy or her directness, that's why you felt attacked. Because her opinion wasn't in alignment with your own.
Yeah.
And the truth of that is, like, it's not because of what she said, boo. It's because of your own ish back there. Mm-hmm. It's very, you know, and it's heartbreaking because you're looking at her, you know, and she could be Caribbean or any
of the Caribbean islands. And it's like, and the thing about it is that when we're looked at as a people, they don't say, oh well, oh okay, you're a little better because you're from whatever, Jamaica or Trinidad or whatever. That's not when you're looked upon as black. Before you even open your mouth. Right. So so when I'm confused and I'm like, well, why is there's such a disparity amongst us? Our struggles are all the same. In your own country, your family probably, you know, fought to make ends meet, just like us here.
Right. And your skin opens the door for you to have the same kind of oppression that we have.
Right.
So we're here now. So, and you know, it's always a thing where you look at her and you're like, really, girl? You know, because you can't find, you know, where that comes from. And I had a friend explain to me recently, she was saying that, and she's a black Latinx woman, she was saying that for a lot of countries, they don't go by black, white, brown, that it's a different context. And while I do understand that, I also feel like you only have to be in the kind of United States of America for about 45 minutes before you understand where you fall in this.
Right.
You know, America does not let you forget
who you are.
Exactly. So
and your place.
So however idyllic the racial structure is in another country, when you're talking about here, it's a really hard sell when women are like, it's just not like that where I come from. But you're here now, so why are you still weaponizing those things? You know, and I think that's also something else they don't realize is that it's weaponized. the second that they act on that thought of, you know, she act like that because that's how all Black American women act, and that's the, you know, that's weaponized, because now rather than you standing beside us, you're literally crossing the track against us. And as Black women, it's like, it's very hard to watch, but I hear it more and more as these conversations take place, and it's unfortunate.
I think that you know, the countries that they come from are beautiful and amazing, and you know, their accent and their dialect, and I think it's all like beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's like, why can't we just all get along? Like my kids say, you know, like we still have to revert back to that saying.
Yeah.
Why we can't
oh my God, I know, right?
Along.
And mean it seriously.
Yeah, why we can't all just get along? Like, you know, I don't see, like, I've been to some of those countries and I've seen how some of you live, and and I mean, like, and it makes you cry.
Yeah.
To see how they live there, yet I just, you know, I'm sitting here like this. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Well, let me ask you this: where would you like to see yourself?
Oh, I like that. I like that. In 5 years, I see myself with at least 2 published books on the shelf.
Okay.
And
about?
Well, right now I'm working on my. Oh, I need a little tickles because I've never said the name, but I'm prepared now. I'm editing my collection of short stories and essays called Black Girl Drowning on Dry Land.
Ah.
And the basis of it is addressing the major issues that we deal with as Black women. And I give a little bit of personal background in how I dealt with it, and then I expand on how we deal with it as a country. And without being boring, I get into a little bit of facts about how it started. So there's some really good essays about Black women in our hair, Black women in our health, Black women in society, and Black women and all the other women. And so that is, I've been working on it for years, and I'm just now getting through that rough draft editing process. And you know, I intend on creating more material like that, where I can advocate through my art. And also just to continue, especially with Sisters with Aspiration and with community organizing and having events that bring us together, where we can just chill out and just exhale, you know, because we just don't have enough of that.
And Sisters with Aspiration, tell people.
That is the women's empowerment group that I started. It's been about 2 years now, and it started at my kitchen table. And at the time, I was unemployed. I was as single as a blade of grass. I was, you know, just not in the best space emotionally. And there was therapy wasn't even an option. I didn't have the money, and I didn't have health insurance. So the closest that I can get to that was getting other Black women together. And so I invited my loved ones over one day, and we sat at the kitchen table for about 4 hours and just yelled and laughed and cried and did all of the things. And we were like, you know what? Let's come back and do this again in 2 weeks. And then we did it again for another 2 weeks, you know, and we started holding each other accountable for our goals. We started really manifesting the things that we were putting out there. And that was 2 years ago, and it started as 6 of us. And now offline, I would say there's a good 24 of us. And online with the book club, there's currently 2,200 women. So, you know, it's expanded. And there's different avenues in regard of Black women and empowering ourselves and healing ourselves. So I'm looking forward to seeing that grow as well.
And you also write for Medium.
I do. I get in trouble on Medium a lot.
Right.
Well, you know what? It's so funny.
You get in trouble by Medium.
You know,
or
I
on
get in trouble
Medium?
by what I'm writing on Medium, should I say.
Okay.
You know, one of the last articles that I wrote was the one, all white people are racist.
Right.
And I got a lot of
Oh, shoot.
yeah, I got a lot of pushback from that. And it was funny because
Do you believe that?
I believe it in the definition that all white people have white privilege. And I believe that when you are not using that privilege for something good, then you're using it for something bad. So that privilege can be at my expense. And because of the fact that racism is privilege in addition to power, unfortunately there's power in whiteness.
Right.
So even just me sparring with a white woman, she has power to, you know, get my page banned for 30 days. She has power to go to my manager and have problems at my job. She has power to get me I mean, it's when you really look at our day-to-day interactions, I find that I see that the racism plays out, but not in that, you know, KKK white cloak on. It plays out in that they're exuding their privilege for their benefit at our expense. So in that regard, I do believe that all white people are racist. And they don't believe that. So that was that was a lot of
yeah. They actually, yeah.
But you know, you'd be surprised because there actually were a lot of white people who agreed with that, as well as a lot of white people that acknowledge, you know, I do have privilege and I haven't used it.
Right.
And I am a feminist, but I don't know anything about black women. You know, and so it's hard for me to believe that there's not a racism there, that you know, you meet women that love Hillary Clinton and they love, you know, fighting for their reproduction rights. And they have no idea who the people who advocate for us are or what our issues are. I just think that it's, and I mention maternal mortality all the time, and I speak about our mistreatment in the medical profession all the time, because it happens all the time. So it's I can't think of any other reason. To me, with in regard of like feminism and white women, either you're exuding racism and you don't realize it, or you're cruel. And I'd hate to think that they're cruel. I'd rather believe that they are so racially ignorant that they're not aware that they've weaponized their privilege. But you know, if I can get to that point in a conversation with Becky, then that is a really good day. Girl, that's a good day. I'm usually blocked by the time I say, first of all, and then that whole thread, I'm like, why is everything leaving? Because she reported me. But yeah, it was, I got a lot of feedback for that one.
Pushback, feedback?
Yeah, I got a lot of both for that one.
What's the most challenging thing with running
Was running SWA?
SWA? I was going to say SWB.
Listen. Okay.
I was going to say SWB. I was like, no.
And it's so funny. I get so weak. That's my joint. Okay.
I was going to say SWB. I swear.
And it's so funny because I got that from NWA because I thought that was so cool. You know, niggas with attitude, sisters with aspiration, trying to put a little flip on it.
Right.
Offline for me, the biggest challenge is making sure that the space is safe for everyone. Right. Because when we have our roundtable discussions, it is we're relying on trust. Right. You know what I mean? I cannot sit here and say, hey, one of my challenges is my boyfriend who's cheating on me with the world. I can't say that if I don't trust that I'm not going to be judged, and that the other women at that circle aren't going to feel like, well, girl, what I would do So, and I can't, you know, I can plan a picnic, but I can't predict the weather.
Right.
So it's one of those situations where I kind of just constantly preach about righteous engagement and being there for your sister, try to, like, you know, buffer the space. So that's hard, but I have to say that usually it works out pretty good. But online, without question, the biggest issue is holding down the space for Black women. That's the biggest issue, is holding down the space for us to discuss and to be honest and exert our own free thought without shame. You know, that's something that's really hard.
Yeah, it's. I guess it would be hard. I mean, I'm in the group and I see you, and it's hard to. What I see is that when you say you will post something and then you have people come out the woodwork, and you be like, yeah, they're very like insensitive to someone, and this is like, I guess policing that part of it.
Yes,
very
policing. And
challenging because it's
exactly.
like, you know, but because by the time that you see it, her feelings are already hurt.
Yeah,
and she's been, you know, she's been made to feel like her experiences
is invalidated.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and it's rough, you know, because that's part of that aspect of us trying to walk straight in a crooked room, is at what angle are we allowed to express our lived experiences and not have to come with receipts for it. But with Black women, unfortunately, there is a level of entitlement that anyone who is either non-Black, person of color, or Black in addition to, they feel this entitlement to say, well, let me stop you there, and it's so frustrating, especially when you get used to it. Because then this is what happens. As Black women, you say something nice the first time, you know, and in a polite, I said what I said, you know, like I said what I said, girl. And then it gets rebutted.
Yeah.
So then you say it again, and now you're a little more direct. And now you're not ending it with a smile face emoji.
Right.
And you're not leaving that room to let the woman know that you're talking to, like, you can still come to the cookout. It's like, you know what, I don't even care anymore because now I'm advocating for my own self. And then when that gets rebutted again, it's a knee-jerk reaction. What is that Black woman going to do? Now she's angry because she's being invalidated. So she's going to be a little loud. She's going to be a little abrasive. Yeah, passionate. And then, so what brought her to that place means nothing. Then it's like, you are a loose cannon. You are so angry, girl. Why are you so angry? Well, maybe because I had to say it 7 times. You know, and it's funny because a lot of times with me, I understand that people, you're judged based on how you speak, you're judged based on where you live, and so I always tell women, listen, whatever you see here, inside, is a big bitch named Quana. All those Black women you don't like, all those Black women you make fun of, all of that, I'm like, I am the loud Black woman at the bus stop getting on your nerves. I am the one that pushed you on the sidewalk and gave you eye contact as she did it because she knew you weren't going to move. And I feel like that is like a little bit of a shock factor for especially non-Black women of color, because like, she was so nice. I know I was. But when I see it happen to other Black women, it cuts like a knife. You know, because we're being exploited, and then we're being used to make it look as though there's something wrong with us. When really all we're doing is just trying to be honest. We're just, you know, talking. We're just being ourselves. So that is definitely the hardest part about facilitating space, is making sure everybody's safe. You know, because it only takes one Black girl to be uncomfortable, and I feel like we should all be a little uncomfortable. You know, other than that, I really do like it. I do like organizing women and getting us together and having these conversations.
You know what I find disheartening though is the Black women that give the other Black women the hard way to go. It's like, girl, I thought you was a teammate. It's like now you became an opponent. It's like,
you're like, really, girl? Yeah.
And it's like,
you know where I think that comes from though? Respectability. For me, if you are a black woman that practices respectability by any means, and when I say respectability, I mean that legitimate of that mentality that you can't be loud. Don't let them see you this way. We can't be like that. That's bad for the race. We have to uplift you. That polices us. No one has to deal with that in the way that we have to deal with that. So when you do speak with a black woman and you find that she follows those codes of respectability, I already know this person's gonna come for me. I know she's gonna come for me because I know that I don't, and I know that in her mind, she doesn't see a human being. She sees someone who's breaking those codes. And so when I speak with other black women who are indignant about something that someone said, and it's like, well, why are you so mad at what she said? Why do you feel like you have to police her? Why can't you just have an unpopular opinion? You know, but when we follow respectability, there's no room to have an unpopular opinion. There's only room for us to always be on the same page. You know, I got into an argument a couple of weeks ago with a black woman who hates Empire and Love and Basketball Wives of Potomac and all of those shows.
Okay, but girl, that's you. Like,
okay, right. And we were arguing about it. And I shouldn't even say arguing, more so I was just letting her know that, you know, we're allowed to have shitty TV too. We're allowed to have bad shows too. And at the end of the day, she asked me, well, why do you watch? I said, I don't watch that shit. But I respect the way my petty is set up. I respect other women's right to watch those shows.
Right, it's a show.
But that's how we do each other. You know what I mean? And then that's it. And then that and you don't even realize you just is like, yo, do you watch Empire? And then there'll be the two girls like, and everything you do after that, when you leave that room, they're like, you already know how she is. You already know. No, you don't. You just know what she watches on Wednesday night.
Right.
You know what I mean? We don't do that to white women.
Right.
You watch
black women don't even do that to white women.
You understand? You know what I mean? It's infuriating. It's infuriating when we try to police one another. And we don't realize that that's what
I think we should keep our, like, if you feel that way, don't say it out in public. You know, back in the girl, you watch Empire, okay, you know, whatever. But, you know, it's just because we have to have a certain level of camaraderie. Come on, where is this coming? Come on, man.
Right.
You know, we can't nitpick and just be like, oh, you don't do that, don't do that, oh, don't talk like that.
Yeah.
We can't, come on, it gotta stop somewhere. This is like, come on.
But for those sisters who adhere to that, especially also if you are relying on code switching, you know, then the way that you're set up is you're modeled for the white gaze. So you're kind of pre-programmed to separate yourself. And that's what happens with so many of us that we don't realize, is that separation from our blackness, that kind of step to the right to let everyone know that I'm not that kind of black. And we don't realize how we weaponize that, you know, and how we shame our own. It's crazy. I mean, like, we shame our own that really advocate for us. But because their decorum isn't like, you know, that of a white feminist, then it's not acceptable. But we're not them. You know, we're not supposed to be them. And for a lot of women who are policed, who do have to code shift for, who do have to assimilate in their neighborhoods and their social networks, when you're around black women, you don't want to do that. You just want to keep it real. You just want to, like, let loose. And you find that you're like, well, why are they still coming for me? And then I start looking, and then I start realizing, like, it's a little bit of respectability there. You know, so I feel like it literally, respectability and code shifting are like enemy number one for black women.
What about feminism? How do you feel about feminism?
You know, I refer to myself as a black feminist, but that's my relationship to feminism. It never surprises me when I speak to my mentor, Catrice M. Jackson. She has a strong distaste for that word, and I totally get it, because we're only exposed to a form of feminism that's white. And we're only exposed to a form of feminism that addresses needs that are not related to ours. So for your average black girl or woman, I totally get, why would you want to be a feminist if that's not in alignment with things that you care about? I do feel like, personally, I just feel like with us as women, especially black women, we, as long as we are focused on our own upliftment,
Right.
and in centering ourselves, it doesn't matter what you call yourself.
Right. What is your definition of feminism?
Gender equality. But then again, for me, gender equality means not getting catcalled and not having to be aware of the fact that one of the reasons of why black women die in this country is because of domestic violence. So what I look at as gender equality, and what Becky looks at as gender equality, and what Sue Haiti looks at as gender equality are different things, which is why I totally get why so many black women aren't a fan of that word. You know, because it doesn't always represent how we feel.
Yeah, I'm definitely not a fan of feminism or feminist or being a feminist. But I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
You know, that perspective, I can kind of like, you know, get it. But I'm definitely an advocate for black women. Definitely an advocate for black. Even the ones that don't want to speak up for themselves, I definitely have to advocate. We have to advocate on their behalf because there are so many women that they don't see the importance of advocating.
Exactly.
Because they have so much on their plate. They're like, advocating for myself is not really, but they don't know that advocating for themselves it includes some of those things that are on your plate.
Absolutely.
Like a better job and better housing and better schools for your kids and all those things. That's part of advocating. But they don't look at the whole big picture. They're just looking at it as, girl, I ain't got time.
Like, I'm not going to no community meeting.
I gotta help with homework. You know, it's just like, I get it. I do too. I get it. I get it. But thank you so much for stopping by. Really, I really
my
appreciate
pleasure.
it.
Tell me what you made.
So I made some shrimp stuffed avocado. So it's like tomatoes and avocado.
Looks amazing.
Shrimp, and it's really simple to make. It's really, you know, simple, but it's tasty with lime and all that good stuff, some sea salt. And
looks good.
Yeah. But you'll get to dig in.
Thank you so much for having me.
It was so much chopping it up with you because, you know, we go way back.
We go back and we go deep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then, you know, just, I love what you're doing, advocating for us, and
thank you so much.
Being that voice for the voiceless, and, you know, your work on Medium, and your work with SWA, not SWV. Not SWV.
I was not singing again.
I get so weak.
Sorry. I was gonna tear it up.
Yeah, girl. Thank you so much. This has been an episode of Talking with Your Mouth Full. I dedicate this episode to my brother who recently passed, and I will keep doing what I do and moving forward and advocating for our women folk. Thank you so much for stopping by.
My pleasure. Bye.